What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out to Abraham Mohammed, Adam, Adrian Quintana, Alistair Main, Billy Highvolt, Blue Ridge Ranger, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As the Earth, Chow Yun Cat, Dank, Dave Rakia Gafford, David Wayne Foster, Daz Studio 68, Edwin Johnson, Erwin Jennisons, Felix Hung, Fireball X, God Rockin', Henrik 86, Jeranism, Kirsten Smith, Liam Nedrick, Life is Short, Matt, Missouri Bear, Nagara, Nathan Thompson, Naibai, Qatar Craig, Renee, Rob H, Sally Ballis, Silver Umbrella, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, The Real Gabster, Tina Baker, Tom Herkins, and Wind Rider. So a massive shout out of appreciation to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now, we do have a few people in both G Plus and Discord, so I'll raise the mics on them, and hopefully, if there's a conversation going, you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for the first live show.
So you're multi-talented.
Let's put it this way. I studied jewelry. I was a qualified graphic designer, and I'm a qualified spray painter. Trying to figure out what I should do next.
Wow, just keep adding on to your resume.
Good at DIY. Maybe I should build houses.
Yeah, you'll get on. Where's Nathan?
I'm here.
I was busy
Just
setting
finishing
up.
off setting up.
Got it. Well, Righteous had to take off, so just want to make sure we have a conversation going on.
How's it going?
Good. I'm just noticing that every time someone goes against the Black Swan, they never bring up modus tollens. So the argument was modus tollens. Black Swan is the analogy. They keep attacking the analogy rather than the argument.
Correct.
And it's just apparently absent in all the conversation. The first premise, I mean, it made me go into modus tollens too and watch a few videos on the subject. It's rock solid. Rock solid.
Now they're just discriminating against black swans. That's all.
Hey, Black Swan lives matter.
They sure do.
Yeah, you're right. That's why I tried on yesterday's show to detach it from the photograph and from the analogy of the Black Swan, and just say, look, when you take the modus tollens example, you have to excuse my cold, it's hard to refute if you just ignore the analogy and ignore the picture that goes along with the logical consistency. But that's what people are focused on. Oh, this photograph, blah, 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 blah. Oh, this analogy of swans, blah, 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 blah. It's like, no. The geometric physical horizon has been laid down with certain parameters. It's in their model. It's what they use. It's the tenets of their religion. It's what they tell us the Earth is. Based on that, the horizon needs to be at a certain distance and can be no further than that distance based on its physicality, its geometry. If it is, we don't have a sphere Earth horizon that's physical for boats to go over, to bend at altitude, to block buildings in the distance. But that's all in modus tollens. Notice I didn't mention swans, Notice I didn't mention a picture of oil rigs. You don't need any of it for the logic. But I tried to explain that yesterday in as concise a way as I can. It's just hard to get it across to people. Eventually they'll understand, I hope.
I keep doing it because that's the undercarriage of the whole argument is that. And if we then have that, it doesn't matter what the picture is or any of that because you can't be using logic and holding their physicality to task.
Yeah, that's what QE's trying to do with the infantryman's creed. It's essentially saying, this is my black swan. In this instance, it's the picture of the lighthouse, the oil platforms for QE. And he's used it with the argument that he's used it with, the modus tollens argument. Now, your black swan might be very different, because let's be honest, in reality, there are quite a lot of black swans. Like, literally. There are lots of swans that are black. So, there's plenty of others that people might utilise, but the argument that goes alongside it is the bit that destroys and debunks the globe. That's the bit that everyone's whistled past.
Yes, they have, and they must.
Yeah, they have to.
Yeah, if you're a globetard, you must.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you started off this conversation talking about those on our own side, though.
Well, I'm going to get to that. I'm just referencing off your beautiful summary here that's going to make up your pre-show. The globetards must avoid the modus tollens. If P, then Q. Not Q, therefore not P. Logical. Used all the time. If the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3,959 miles, P, then every horizon distance measurement must be no more than 1.225 times square root of the observer's height in feet. Q. That's your geometric horizon in your curve calculators, ballers. Not Q. Why is it not Q? Well, because we have a black swan image showing that the horizon is well past 9.41 miles when it's an impossibility based on your radius of 3959. It can't be more than 1.23 miles out. Therefore, not P. Earth is not a sphere. Okay, that's beautiful. That's logical inference. That's logical consistency. There's your modus tollens. That picture could never be if we live on a sphere with a radius of that measurement of 3959. And yet we have that picture. So we called it the black swan. As an analogy, now this is for our side. Wake up, flat earthers. Get the modus tollens and hold the baller's feet to that. There'll be more black swans coming that you can compare to modus tollens. And then at that time, you're going to thank QE for bringing up modus tollens for your black swan while you poop all over his because you don't understand it.
Yeah, very well said.
Yeah, I'm just getting tired of it because it's just showing the immaturity of people on this topic to understand that. I mean, no wonder the debates go fiery at times. People just are emotional and they're just not serious about their homework. I think I'm on my 8th notebook on the Nathan Oakley show. How many people actually sit down and take notes and go over it and, if possible, listen to the second show? How many people do that, Nathan, do you think, in your audience?
I don't know, a fair chunk.
Good. Then they're the smart ones because they're students. They're students. They're going to go. I check everything you guys say. I go and
Hope so.
research it.
Yeah, I should hope so.
I don't just, yeah, I do. I don't trust, just because I hear it on your show doesn't mean it's true, right?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I didn't know what modus tollens was until QE brought it up. I said, well, where's he pulling that out of his hat? I've never heard that. No, I didn't say like he's lying to me. I just said I've never heard it. So I went and checked it out. And guess what? He represented it properly. So another check mark for QE and his ability to reference and cite. It's good.
Yeah, and that's the way to do it.
Rich
Take the
Hall.
information and you go look for yourself.
You guys know Rich
What?
Hall, as in Rich Planet. You heard of that guy?
Who?
Richard Hall. No, don't worry.
Sounds familiar. No, sounds familiar.
He's a guy that covers quite a lot of conspiracies. Anyway, it's one of his sayings is, "Don't believe anything you hear, and only believe 50% of what you see."
Yeah, I already know people are going to ask me, what did you research this, or are you taking someone's word for it? I already know that's coming when I start this conversation. So I beat him to it by researching it.
It's what you call due diligence. I mean,
Yes, it is.
no offense to Arwin, but he's the most recent example I can remember of this. QE told him about buckyballs. He didn't research it, and then got held to task on it, and blamed QE for not giving him enough information. It's like mentioning buckyballs in an argument, having citations for it or otherwise, doesn't make it his responsibility if you're now using it in a claim in an argument you're in. So, once you take on board some piece of information and you then reuse it, then yours. It's no one else's responsibility, unfortunately. So, as you are doing, if you go forth and want to challenge other people on their understanding of the nature of our reality, you got to know your stuff, because it's going to piss people off, right? That's why QE gets so annoyed at what he calls pretender clowns. Don't go around jabbering on about this subject if you don't really know what you're talking about, because you're going to embarrass everybody around you. And as much as we don't want to be lumped on the same team, we are. There's no getting away from it. So, you've got to kind of look out for our own and say, look, if you don't really understand this, just don't talk about it. Same goes for most things, because you'll just get exposed by someone who does. And they'll go, hang on, you're just making that up. Here you go, I can prove how you just made that up. Well, I got it from this other person. Well, they were just lying to you. Why didn't you find out and do your research yourself, or double check, do your due diligence, whatever you want to call it. But half the time people are lazy. That's the bottom line here. That's what it really boils down to. Yeah. Same goes for people who criticise me on the channel. They'll say, oh, you've got a really easy life, a couple of hours a day. And I'm like, you've got to be joking. It consumes my entire life. But people just assume that the time that you actually click record and then end record, suddenly everything else goes away. It's like, no, there's massive amounts of work that goes into everything we do. It takes up your entire life. But there we go.
Yeah, but people expect you to spoon feed them all the time.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's very well put. Spoon feeding. Oh, give me more. That was nice information. Yum, yum, yum. Give me more. Why aren't you giving me more? Give me more! Go screw yourself. Go find your own bloody information.
Yeah, I used to have to read contracts, financial documents. I had a fiduciary duty towards my customers or future customers to represent their best interest. And, they would have financial products and they never read those documents. So I would say, well, go get it. We'll read it together. So upon reading it, they realized it wasn't what they thought it was and thanked me for bringing it to their attention. So what was really going on was they bought something. There's a contract that went with it. They thought it was the sales pitch that was in the contract. Come to find out, it had almost no bearing. Contract said almost opposite of what the sales pitch was. They were dishing $200, $300, $400 a month out for these things. And upon me reading the contract and bringing their attention to it, then they can make the proper fixes. And so that was very rewarding, but you have to do homework and learn how to read contracts. You can't just jump into an industry that required FBI fingerprint scans, background check, and everything else, and think you can go over there and slough it off, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but I think it shows they just get a job because they want a job. I don't think they have a passion for it.
No, they just see commission in selling something and they jump in there to make a big commission. They don't even care for the customer. That's the problem. That's why sales gets a bad name.
Fortunately, I can't be a salesperson. I'm too straightforward.
That's the best kind of salesperson.
You're right. I used to work in sales, and you're correct. That does generate a bad name for salespeople, but it also opens an avenue for a good salesperson to actually build quite a lot of trust in your client. So my clients, they tended to stay for a very long time. I had good customer retention on account of the fact that I'd defy all of their general expectations, which were low, of salespeople. So that actually worked very much to my advantage, because they're just expecting so little of you. In fact, they're expecting negativity. They're expecting you to screw them over. So when you don't and you give good service and all those things, you tend to, retain customers a lot longer. If you're a salesperson, you're actually good or honest, I should say. Just not lying through your back teeth, saying they'll get A and then they actually get Z. But
Yeah, exactly.
But just to bring this back to the globe, another analogy, I think it was Mark Sargent that made this analogy when he was describing digging into heliocentricity, and he described it as like a box, and he walks into this like storeroom. There's lots and lots of these boxes. And they're like, there you go, there's all the evidence for globe, and you go, bloody hell, there's loads of these boxes. And as he starts going through them with his knife, he opens each box, and there's a bit of packing paper. And you sift through, and there's nothing in the box. It's just empty. So you go, there's nothing in this one. And you ruffle through, and after half a day of looking through all these boxes, you realise they're all empty. There's no actual evidence in any of these boxes with massive word evidence written on the side of them. So that was his analogy. The other one was Wakey Wakey. He described the globe as a papier-mâché model. So he's got you very much visualising the physicality of the model as this paper mache ball. It's like you look at it from a distance and it looks really solid. It looks sturdy and globe shaped. But you get close and you go, I wonder how solid it actually is. And you touch it and your finger goes straight through. And you go, oh, whoa, it's paper thin. Oh dear, I've just put my finger right through. Hang on, there's nothing inside it. What's going on here? So, I don't know, I like these analogies for the absolutely hollow and baseless claim that we live on a sphere. Because it's paper thin, it's an empty box. Hey, Sleeping Warrior.
Have you seen that scene on Truman Show where he hits the horizon in his boat?
Yeah, I saw that in the cinema and it scared me. I'll never forget it because it scared me. Because it's all tranquil and there's like the noise of the sea and the waves, and then when he actually hits, there's a massive, really deep sub-bass note. It shook the whole cinema. And it was genuinely, I was like, bloody hell! It actually scared me. It doesn't really have the same impact at home, but certainly in the cinema, when he hits the edge of the dome in the Truman Show, it was genuinely a shock. It was a jump scare.
Makes you wonder whether or not the horizon is the way Andrew Young describes it. After all, anyway.
Well, he's got a horizon that's actually physical. The ground actually did meet the sky. That's the irony of the joke, right?
Yeah.
JLB's recently done a few, I don't know if you call them movie reviews, but looking at sort of esoteric messages that are contained within the Truman Show. He's done it with a few movies. I think they're exclusive to his website only, but yeah, check it out, jlb.com. Is it johnlebon.com or jlb.com? I can never remember.
Yeah, if you put jlb.com, I'm sure you'll get speakers.
Or you might go.
Oh no, that's JBL, isn't it?
JBL.
I was going to say,
I wonder
that's
what you were
JBL.
saying then. I thought I just heard that because I've been watching videos about hi-fi recently.
Yeah, just bloody loud, innit? It stands for, apparently.
So this dude that super chats quite frequently called Awaken Narrative. Does that name ring a bell? Shout out to Awaken Narrative. Well, he did a stream this morning, 1 o'clock his time, 9 a.m. our time, and he didn't show his face, but he showed his apartment. I don't know where he was, but he had he's quite high up, looking over a cityscape, and it was absolutely spectacular. And he goes, oh, hi Nathan, all right, you know, and he's like, you're into hi-fi too, and he says, look over there, and I was like, wow, you got a Macintosh amp, and he's like, nice JBL speakers. So he's like fellow hi-fi enthusiast, and he's like, oh, because I'm obviously chatting away in his chat, he's saying, oh, I'm really pleased this flat earther guy I really likes here, Nathan, hi. I'm like, yeah, Earth's flat. Now about those JBLs. Wow, Macintosh amp, cool.
Forget flat Earth. I want to see that.
That's what I said. I'm like, yeah, Earth's flat, yeah. What about your Macintosh amp? That's ace. I was like, Patricia Steer's got a Macintosh amp, same as that. There's always a smattering of hi-fi enthusiasm in every arena.
I remember back in the day, I used to go to the CES Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I've been several times as an exhibitor and as a whatever you call it.
Yeah. So you know what it's like. And I would always go to the hi-fi and stereo and all those areas. And I remember one time they had a Marshall speakers, I think it was, if I can recall. And I mean, it was amazing technology for that time. It just blew everybody away how crisp and clean the sound was, and all the parts of the sound spectrum and the bass. And I love that show. That show each year was a joy to go to.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
always
I
used
like
to
CES.
have Marshall amps.
What did you say?
I used to always have Marshall amps for my guitar.
Yeah, this was different. This was a speaker, but I'm not sure if it was connected with the same company, but it may have been.
Thing is, the technology's not moved on very much. If you exclude home cinema, like home cinema amplifiers with all the electronic gubbins, the rest of the stuff, amplifiers, speakers, normal amplifiers, you know, integrated amplifiers, CD players, all that stuff hasn't really moved on very much. You know, the only thing that's really changed is people use computers as sources now. Like instead of a CD player, you'd use a computer. But other than that, the technology is basically the same. So second-hand hi-fi is where it's at, man. You know, that you can get some amazing equipment second-hand. That just
They used to have.
Yeah, I saw a nice Pioneer system the other day.
I've got a newbie question then, Nathan. When I was younger and I was really into hi-fi, we didn't have direct current DACs, but we now have direct current DACs that didn't exist when I was a kid, or if they did, they were very new. I don't ever remember seeing them. Am I just ignorant, or is DACs a new technology that you've not given credit for?
DAC. When you say DAC is just DAC, direct current. I don't know what the hell you've just added that on. Digital to analog converter is absolutely necessary for anything that's digital. So from CDs, you needed a process that would take ones and zeros and convert them into analog lines or waves so you can hear them. Well, that process is digital to analog conversion, or DAC. So you need DACs when you've got digital data. So
Did they exist when we were younger, though?
Of course. You've had DACs for years and years and years and years and years, but in terms of domestic audio, you know, your Common Garden CD player, the introduction of that, 80s, that was where you got, and probably 70s, that's where you got DACs, you know, being commonplace, because it went from analog waves on a radio, on a record, that you're literally moving a stylus over to take the vibrations from the groove to ones and zeros, and you've got to have a conversion process. Well, that's a DAC. So no, they're far from new.
I just wasn't aware of them when I was younger. I see them as new tech.
The only reason you're aware of them now is because of needing an off-board DAC. So most modern sources are digital. So you've got your iPods and your iPads and your all digital MP3 players and your computers and CD players, and everything's digital. So to get that information into your standard hi-fi, you need a DAC. And most people, it's a computer of some description. That includes iPods. So when you've got a computer as your source, you need to get that turned into analog to move a speaker in and out, and that's where you get an abundance of off-board DACs. So the term gets familiar with people. Whereas CD player, well, no one's gonna be. it's not at the forefront of people's mind that there's a chip in there that's doing something called digital to analog conversion. No one gives a shit. That's what I used to flog. That was when I used to work as an electronics rep. One of the products we sold to a lot of the studios and a lot of rich home users was a very, very expensive digital to analog converter. And it was, I don't know, £3,000 or £4,000 for just a DAC. So your average one on eBay is probably £30 to £80. As I say, the one that we sold was about £4,000. But it was amazing.
Yeah, it must be my ignorance. I see technology in terms of. I mean, I see music as a direct consequence of PCs and computers. I know they're not. I know there are people out there that will say, "How dare you say that?" But the reality is, for me, it's far more convenient to play music on my PC or through my telly, or not through my telly, but the sound of my telly, play it through a DAC or a PC, rather than playing it through the TV itself. So for me, it's like the progression from what used to be Sound Blaster Creative 16-bit little desktop speakers that were absolutely atrocious to what they've got now is, to me, it's just worlds apart. But it's probably my own ignorance based on what was already available.
It is. Speakers are speakers. So, for, I don't know, the best part of 70, 80 years probably. It's been varying qualities of speaker. Well, your Sound Blaster speakers on your desk are just the cheapest speakers you can get and sound horrendous. But at the other end of the scale, for the same amount of money, you could have probably picked up something for £25 that was from 1990 or something that would absolutely blow it out of the water. But you'd need to buy another £25 amp to go with it instead of just plugging them into your USB socket or plugging them into a wall with a power brick. So, I don't know. I reached hi-fi nirvana and then kind of stopped, whereas a lot of people don't. They just keep selling stuff and buying stuff and changing stuff, whereas I knew precisely what I wanted and bought it over the course of about 10 or 15 years, all expensive stuff, now all 20 years old. But that's why it's 20 years old, because I'm happy with it. And a lot of people are just never happy. They're always chasing nirvana, chasing hi-fi nirvana, better sound. And, I don't know, I used to go into some customers' houses that they've been doing that for a long time, chasing hi-fi nirvana, and what they're looking for and what they think they're achieving is a far cry from what I thought sounded good. So I think you should understand when it sounds good, and you get used to things. It's like a fast car. When you get a fast car, you drive it, and then after a very short period of time, you get accustomed to it, and then you want it to be faster. It doesn't seem fast anymore until someone sits in the passenger seat and shits their pants. Then oh yeah, obviously I forgot it was that fast, but to me it doesn't seem that fast anymore. Well, it's the same with audio. You get to a certain point. Do you know
where that analogy doesn't apply?
Say again?
You know where that analogy doesn't apply?
Go on.
When you're buying a motorbike that's more than 600cc, because everyone has the dilemma when they get a motorbike. After they've had the first one or two where they've dropped it a couple of times and they've learned how to survive and not get knocked off rather. When you get a decent bike, you have to make the decision: should I go for a sporty 600 or should I bite the bullet and pay £1,000 more and get 1000cc? Now, when you buy the 600cc, you outlive it very quick. When you buy 1000, you don't outlive that. It's always scary. Now, when you get a Hayabusa, Jesus, you can't even open the throttle without feeling like it's going to throw you off. So for the bikes, it just doesn't. For me, it doesn't work. I never get tired of riding a Hayabusa.
Sure, but would you? I know for a fact that there's people out there that have got turbocharged and nitrous injected Hayabusas that are chasing more power. So yeah. What I'm saying is, while you have reached hi-fi nirvana in metaphorical terms with your motorbike, I'm just saying there's plenty of people out there that get a Hayabusa and go, it's just not fast enough. And to you, that seems ludicrous. In hi-fi, same thing.
The thing is that you're right. You're right in one sense, but the problem with the Hayabusa is the English roads are not nearly long enough or straight enough or not potholey enough for you to really have much use for it. Like you have to pick your roads very carefully. It's not like in America where you've got like long straight roads where you've got very little, no police or nothing. You know what our motorways are like, smart motorways. You can't do over 70 anymore. But when you do have a motorway and there's nobody on it and you wind it back, you never get tired of it. It's great.
I've done 175 miles an hour in this country. Yeah, you can definitely break the speed limit as much as you like if you choose your roads and you've got radar protection and all the things that you need to do that. So, I mean, I was paying subscriptions for, I don't anymore, recently stopped. But I was paying subscriptions to have all of the camera data constantly updated every 2 minutes to my car, and all of the positions of radar gun policemen. So it had a system where you could press a little button and it would update all of the others via a central computer. So essentially everyone's giving everyone else the data about where the police with their guns are. So you can essentially outrun their radios because you've been forewarned by another user of the system, and there was thousands of them. It's great. So you could absolutely nail it. So coming back from Scotland, I was like, I want to do this as quickly as humanly possible. So I just stuck my foot to the floor on the M6 and just went, BAM! You know, watch the tank dry out really, really quickly. It was ace. Same across Europe. There's parts of Europe where, you know, they say, yeah, you shouldn't speed in France. Well, it's the same sort of principle. You know, you've got to pick your places that you can and can't do it, but you can go incredibly fast all over. I've driven all over Europe at horrendously high speeds. Great fun. So, I don't know, people sometimes got the wrong impression about where you can and can't speed. Obviously, this was many years ago, in case anybody thinks about telling on me. This was many, many, many years ago.
My Hayabusa is a 1999-2000 model, and it's the first version that they had unrestricted. After that, they had the gentleman's agreement where they, from 2001 onwards, they had the gentleman's agreement where they limited bikes to, I think it's 186 miles an hour, because basically everyone was killing themselves, and they don't want to kill their own riders because they buy motorbikes. So they had Kawasaki, Suzuki, Yamaha, Honda, all agreed 186 was the maximum that they'd take them to. So they limited them to stop them going above it because they didn't want people buying bikes and going 215 and then 260.
It's just not true, though. They say that. So there's been several of those. I've got to start the show soon, but I'll just round it out before we do start the live show. So, for instance, there was a gentleman's agreement in Japan where they all, I think it was 270 brake horsepower max on cars. But that just wasn't true. You know, they all agreed that they'd do that, and they all listed in their brochures that that was what the power was. And the same goes for limiters. So the Audi I got was, according to the gentleman's agreement between the Germans, and they all shook hands on 155 mile an hour top speed limit. That's the limiter. Now you could, according to the brochure, pay extra and delimit it. And I'm like, this is a lease car. I'm not going to pay extra, you know. And I didn't give it a second thought until I put my foot down, and it absolutely was not limited to 155 miles an hour. And then you go, okay, well, it's just a load of nonsense then. And when I took it to for a service, they asked me, they're like, have you maxed it out yet? And I was like, oh yeah. And they're like, what was the max speed? And I told them. And I asked them, why wasn't it 155? And they just chuckled. They were like, yeah, they say they've got limiters on them, but they haven't.
Well, I know that the Hayabusa does have, because it's only the first ones that don't. You can't back. You have to change throttle bodies and all these bits and pieces. But yeah, my fastest I've had mine was about 175. I think it was about 180, and it hadn't finished. I needed about another 10 miles of road to get another 10 miles out of it.
That's about the same as me in that Audi. So the clock said 190, but when I did glance up, it said 174 on the actual. It's like a telemetry box that gives you a proper speed as opposed to what the clock says. So the clock saying 190 doesn't really mean a whole lot of those sort of speeds. But like I say, it was fast as. Right, I'm going to start the live show.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by 10th Man, Sleeping Warrior, Flatzoid, and is Righteous Force in there? I don't think so. Hello, all in G+.
Good morning.
Hey.
And we've also got a reasonably full house in Discord as well. So hello to everyone in Discord. Hello. Good to have you. Any signs of Earth curvature?
Not
No.
from Mount Shasta.
The Earth curvature is running away.
To have an Earth curvature, Nathan, wouldn't you have to have an actual horizon, a geometric horizon?
Yeah,
There's
about
no
that.
evidence of a geometric horizon.
Any signs of a
you hear-
physical geometric horizon?
Did you hear Rumpus admitting that the geometric horizon has absolutely no significance? It's just something that we calculate. Oh, really? That's our admission.
Aren't they trying to claim that's our world?
Well, yeah, that's what he says, yeah. It's just
So
find it
the
ironic
geometric
that
horizon-
he has a problem with that.
So the geometric horizon, a la the claim Earth is a sphere with sphere geometry, means nothing. It's just a calculation. Yeah, we know. It's not the world we live in. It's just your maths, morons.
Good old Rumpus. Shout out to Rumpus.
Hello, Chocolate saying, and who else just joined? Paul, good to have you both.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey.
Hey, Paul, can you hear us?
Good. Yeah, I can hear you. Good morning.
Any signs of axial rotation?
No.
No.
Nah.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No.
What is this? What is the sun?
Good question.
Just presuppositions. That's all we have from the Globers. Every single one of their arguments is premised by a presupposed spherical Earth, or a presupposed sun, or a presupposed medium. Every single one of their arguments is premised by this.
Well, it's the sun is there. It's the distance we're talking about that they're trying to say they know.
That was one of the first
Exactly,
times
but
I
they
ever
presuppose
realised
what
I
the
was
sun
being
is.
gaslit.
Just try again. Black swans matter.
I said, I said exactly, but they presuppose what the sun is to begin with.
Correct.
Oh, you don't know that they went out there on a spaceship and came back and know everything? You didn't hear that one?
Anthony,
Sorry?
do you have anything to add?
That was the first time I ever realised I was being gaslit on the distance to the sun. When you look up angular size, it's from a set distance. So when you have the angular size of an object, it is whatever size it measures at, right? From a given distance. The same as they have when water boils at a set temperature. They always correct you or make sure that you add at standard atmospheric pressure at there's two additional bits that they add. It's
Sea level.
at standard pressure.
Sea level.
Sea level at standard pressure. They always make sure you add that, right? Well, it's the same for angular size, but for some reason they were conveniently ignoring that requirement when they were gaslighting me, because I was pointing out that you don't know the size of the sun because it doesn't have an angular size, because you don't know its distance. To know its distance, you need to know its actual size. We don't have that either. So you need to know the angular size from a set distance, or you need to know the actual size, and then you can work out the distance. But you need to know one of the other, and we don't have them. All we have is ratios, mathematical ratios that give you a scale, but don't give you an actual distance. And I was being gaslit by them. And I didn't realize I was being gaslit at the time, but I knew that they were arguing something that was wrong, but I didn't understand why they didn't get it. But it's because they absolutely knew and they just wouldn't concede. So gaslighting is absolutely true in this topic.
Well, Tony,
Riley,
didn't you
don't
just
forget, with 2 sticks.
Tony,
Yeah, 2 sticks.
what did you say Rumpus said about math just a few minutes ago?
About what?
You said Rumpus said something about math a few minutes ago. What was that quote?
Oh, he said that the horizon has absolutely no relevance whatsoever. He said it's just something that we calculate for. And I was like, oh, really? Isn't that the whole point of boats going over the horizon, according to...
What?
Yeah.
What did you say? The
He said-
horizon has no significance.
He said it on Ranty's show. He said the horizon is the geometric horizon has absolutely no significance whatsoever. We just calculate for it. And I was like, that sounds like an admission to me. That
Well, when he says he calculates for it, what was he using to calculate? Is my point.
And what's
God
it?
knows.
What's it? We just calculate for it. It being the geometric horizon, and their geometric horizon is asserted as the edge of their sphere. Well, if it has no significance in reality, then the geometry is useless, because it's supposed to be representing reality. That's how they use a picture and measure how much obstruction of this Earth curve at the point of the horizon, which is their geometric physical horizon. Well, if they're saying it's just maths, well, it's game over globe. We know it's just maths. It doesn't represent reality. It's got nothing to do with reality according to Rumpus. It's just a mathematical equation. Yeah, that's our argument. Your maths doesn't dictate the shape of the world we live in. And by virtue of the black swan, we definitely don't have this physical point for boats to go over or to bend at altitude in the form of the horizon. We don't have a physical geometric horizon. And them saying, well, we just calculate for it. What? Your bullshit idea that the world's a sphere? Yeah, we know you just calculate for that, you bullshitting idiots.
But what is the point of calculating for something that you don't use and you can't see? Why are we calculating for it?
To reify a sphere into existence where we live on a flat plane, that's why.
It's just plain stupidity.
Should we move on?
I mean, every day it just sounds more and more like they're just completely throwing everything out. I mean, for Rumpus to say, oh, it's unnecessary. What? So all this time the boats have been disappearing over something that's unnecessary and we can't see. Okay, that makes sense.
I'll paraphrase it. Where there's an X in the model that marks the horizon at the edge of their geometric sphere Earth side on in orthographic view, that X is their ball Earth horizon. And it isn't the horizon in reality. Now, if we don't have their ball Earth horizon and their geometry, we don't have their ball Earth. Now, them saying our maths and our geometry has nothing to do with the horizon, yeah, you're damn straight it doesn't. It would if it was a ball Earth. It must if it's a ball Earth, but we've debunked that. So now you're having to relinquish the horizon. It's the tenets of your sphere religion. You're claiming Earth geometry. And if you're now relinquishing it and saying, well, the horizon in our geometric model has got nothing to do with reality, yeah, that's a concession of loss. You're damn right it's got nothing to do with reality. The Earth is obviously inobservably flat, and our horizon is not a geometric sphere edge. It's game over globe. Anybody who still worships this model must see it falling apart around them, because they're having to relinquish the very tenets of the model itself, i.e. a geometric horizon. Well, if you've got that, you've got nothing. You've got nothing to cling on to. You can't trust in Aaron anymore, is what he's telling you. Well, just understand that you don't have a presupposed R value. We don't have a ball Earth. We do have a horizon that's based on perspective and atmospheric conditions, not geometric 7/6, begging the question, R value optics, which don't exist inside view, orthographic. So we don't have a ball Earth. You know, if it's not clear and obvious to everybody who's watching this unfold, then God help you, you're stupid. Because it's untenable now. Your globe model's untenable.
There's two problems, though. The ballers don't even realise it, and half of our own side are still getting their head around it. So in one sentence, we're not arguing it as a flat Earth proof. We're arguing it as a ball Earth killer, okay? But the main problem is the ballers don't even realise what the argument is. So they're still ignoring it at the moment. Those that realise know, absolutely. Rumpus knows, absolutely. But most of the other ballers just don't understand it yet. They haven't got their head around it. They still think we're saying that it's flat Earth proof. They haven't realised that we're not arguing that. But what I do realise is that it might help people on our side. You've all seen that Bill Nye video where he talks about the boat going over the horizon, where he's got what looks like, is it plasticine or paint on a table or something? And it's skewing its way through the paint on the table. It's generally quite a bluey, turquoisey coloured scene. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. If you haven't seen it, just type in Bill Nye horizons or boats going over the horizon, you'll find it. He shows the boat going over the actual horizon, right? But we don't have an actual horizon. So if you think about what that video shows, the boat going over an actual edge, and then you realize that we're saying, well, it's an apparent edge, it's an apparent horizon, it's not physical, then that might help people see the point that it destroys, because it means that who was the guy that did, it wasn't the name Galileo. When Galileo saw the boat going over the horizon, and that was supposed to be the leading edge of the sphere, he obviously wasn't seeing a boat going over the horizon as the leading edge of a sphere. He was seeing a boat that appears to be whatever it does at the horizon, but it's not going over a geometric edge. So hopefully that'll help people when they relate it to what Bill Nye's video shows.
Anthony, what does Musa say about gravity? Repeat that, or chocolate. You got it down. Say it.
Yeah, chocolate.
Which one? We can, we do, we must consider Newtonian gravity as a force. That doesn't mean it necessarily is one, but we don't necessarily have to work at the really is level.
Now replace all those words about gravity with horizon.
We can, we do, we must consider the horizon as a real place. Doesn't mean it really is one, but we don't necessarily have to work at the really is level.
Yeah, baby.
Amen.
Brilliant.
Yeah, the horizon's not physical. I'll just sum that up. The horizon's not physical. It must be if you're going to claim it as physical geometry. If you're claiming the Earth is physically sphere-shaped, it must have physical sphere geometry, and it doesn't. We've debunked it. Hey, Adam.
Afternoon, everyone.
Good to have you. You beautiful human being, you.
Interesting days, mate. I was telling Riley earlier. I spent yesterday evening, black swanning John Savage, but not black swanning Modus Tollens and Honans in him. To after a good hour or so, to the great conclusion of John going, yeah, well, if that's the case, then it is not a flat Earth proof. It is just a fantastic ball destroyer. So
I want to echo those words. I want to shout out Red Pill Philosophy. Rather than going online and publicly getting it wrong and stating or misrepresenting the point that we're making, he contacted me and he said, look, I'm kind of there, but I'm not quite there. He said, I see what you're saying, but I don't see why it's so strong. Can you just run me by it and just explain to me the point? So I went through it with him point by point by point. And by the end of it, I'm pretty sure he gets it. He said he's going to go to bed now. He's knackered. He's going to have another look at it tomorrow, but he thinks he understands it. But the key thing he did was he asked before he went public and he criticised it, or he misrepresented it, and by saying it was a white swan for the flat Earth, he actually contacted me and asked about it. And also, in the same vein, shout out to Taboo Conspiracy, who also did the same thing. We had a conversation about why it's not a flat Earth proof, it's a ball Earth killer. So people are actually realizing that there's an importance to do with why it's not a white swan for flat Earth and why it is a black swan. If you don't know why it's a black swan for flat Earth, just ask us and we'll go through it with you really slow, and we'll do it until you get it. Because once you realize, it's a glorious moment and people are getting it, but not everybody gets it straight away.
Let me just squeeze this in then. So Ben, Taboo Conspiracy, I gave him a load of grief in my comment section. So he came and justified it with, well, it's a reasonable justification. We're all on your side and it's justifiable because X, Y, and Z. And I was like, no, it's extremely detrimental what you're doing. I was very aggressive with him. Shout out to Taboo Conspiracy.
Yeah, I think he must have bounced from you to me and then asked me what's going on, because it's really easy to misunderstand our point, and we're being really specific on purpose because it matters. The words matter, and it's a far stronger argument for us to argue that it's not a flat Earth proof and actually argue that it's a ball Earth killer, because modus tollens can't be debunked. And we know that we remove the person from it when we apply modus tollens instead. And we also know that they've got no way to debunk it.
So, Her Eyes on Level says, Nathan Oakley, have you seen the video of David Weiss talking with the 102-year-old woman? Yeah, I played it with my wife. Amazing. So I've long suspected that the timeline they give us in terms of how long we've been told the heliocentric deception is in place is just completely lies. When they span it through several thousand years, that's definitely complete bullshit. But it seems from that video, at least, that there's a remnant of people out potentially in the sticks, that were still being taught about flat Earth, and then there was a transition period where they were told it was a globe. Well, there's a clip, I think it was David Weiss that also picked up on this and mirrored it. I think it was Little House on the Prairie, and you have this plot line where they change the narrative from sphere to flat, or flat to sphere, and it's got this pretty woman that's coming along that's telling these kids about how the Earth's actually a sphere, and I think the old grizzly former schoolmasters talking about flat Earth. I can't remember which way around.
The old Quaker minister telling her off.
That's the one. It was Little House on the Prairie, though, wasn't it?
Something like that, yeah. Yeah, something like that. But
I remember seeing that and
she's
thinking,
the new schoolmistress, isn't she? And
I think it was Gunsmoke, actually. I don't know if it was
Gunsmoke. Okay, Gunsmoke. But nevertheless, I remember seeing it and thinking, well, you can't really use that to suggest that that's evidence that they were teaching it in that way at the time. But when you have somebody's first-hand testimony, like David Weiss has produced, you suddenly think, well, why would you need to have that plot line? And then you think, well, that's because the remnants of the old teachings are still dispersed out amongst people that potentially haven't got quite such hot communication. She said you hadn't even got electricity at the time. So you go, yeah, well, that's going to be the last place to receive the newest updates in the rhetoric. So you go, so the last dying remnants of the flat Earth teachings was only 100 years ago. You go, my God, that's astonishing. So the lie's not new. The lie's not old. It's a new lie that, you know, they've hoped within 3 generations will be programmed with it, and the cracks are just too wide now. So it just gives me hope.
Yeah, well,
it's the same as the oil conspiracy. When you realise that the oil fields that were drained in the 1950s, 60s, 70s in the USA, the northern USA, those derricks that were all pumping out the crude oil from the oil fields, the oil field caps that were sealed in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, they're not supposed to be refilling because it's supposed to be a fossil fuel. But there's reports of them not only filling up, but they're filling up at the rate that is now like 60, 70, and 80% full. Now, the problem is they've got to get 3 generations out of the system before they'll remember that somebody's granddad used to work in those oil fields. And obviously, by the time that 3 generations have been and gone, they won't be remembered as oil fields. But all of a sudden, they'll be filled. And they've already got them capped so that they can break the cap and start pumping back out of them. But they've told our generation and the generation before us and the one before that this is a finite resource. And they're just going to recycle it because they know that they're going to be full again in 3 generations. But in that time, people will not realize that they used to be mined. Well, that's why like, the oil is not a finite resource the way we're being told. Again, we're being lied to.
It's odd, Nate, because, you know, I was talking about Roxanne the other day. She texted me last night, Riley, and only sent me 2 pictures. Both of them of the Cook County Herald from Saturday the 21st of April, 1900. And if you'll permiss me with regards to this, just indulge me a little bit.
There's a massive but on this one, though.
Well, okay, just before you get into it, Adam, I just want to get this insert tags onto the last bit. So her eyes on level said it was Bonanza. There we go. Just wanted to get that in. Go ahead, Adam.
So with regards to exactly that, so this is again a lot of us may have heard of it, and it's the Cook County Herald report from Saturday the 21st of April 1900, where man says Earth is round and he may be thrown into prison. Sad condition of affairs in England. Sir John Gorst accused of intention to teach false precepts. The city of Portsmouth is excited. It is painful to read that Sir John Gorst, the head of the British Educational Department, is in serious trouble and has been threatened by Mr. Ebenezer Breach and other taxpayers of the city of Portsmouth in the Kingdom of England with the prosecution under the Impostors Act. It seems that the schools of Portsmouth have been teaching the damnable and heretical doctrine that the earth is a sphere. Sir John's attention has been called to this dissemination of seditious and treasonable doctrine, but he has been refused to correct the abuse. Ebenezer and his friends know, of course, that the earth is as flat as a pancake. They have been patient with Sir John, and day after day have allowed this false teaching regarding the shape of the earth to go on, but can stand it no longer. And then the article fades, I can't read the rest, but 1900. So that same argument.
Do you know the backstory to this?
Yeah, there's a bit of dubious, but
for the audience, so they don't think we've just been taken in as though that's an actual legitimate piece of news. It's
written in the Cook
parody.
County, is it?
It's a parody.
Yeah. Well, give it better. You'll give a better.
I looked up whether or not the Imposters Act ever existed in English law, and it never has done. There's never been an Imposters Act, and the clue for it is the lack of the capitalisation. When they don't normally when they put Imposters Act or the Theft Act or whatever, they capitalise it so that you know that you're looking at something proper. They didn't capitalise it on that document for some reason, and that is a big clue. But the Imposters Act doesn't exist.
No. So the point there is, it's, as Nate says, it's a parody. It's putting it into the mainstream. Yeah, it's the beginning of ridicule. It's the changing of the guard again. The only reason for it to be there is if there is a real reason to mock to begin. Yeah, and that to me is why it's there. It wasn't as a thing because it's 1900, so it's already the tides are turned, but it's there as that beginning of ridicule to me.
Yeah, it's kind of reverse psychology.
Yeah.
In a paradigm where everybody is, in London, everybody's going to be at the forefront of this new paradigm. So presumably it could be even 100 years earlier, whereas out in the States it would take a lot longer, just purely through the lines of communication that are available at the time. So you'd imagine that in 1900, we're in here, the Brits. Sorry, guys, in the States, but we're going to be on the forefront of that brainwashing. So therefore, to put it into the paper in the manner that they have is to sort of do the reverse psychology and joke about how the reverse of what is actually the case in society is true, and somebody's being ridiculed because they taught that the earth is flat as a joke, so that everyone laughs at it and goes, ha ha ha, that would be stupid. It would be the other way around, because that's kind of the way they're angling it. But why, I think your point in all this is, why would you need that at all if there's nothing funny going on?
If the discussion's still not in the mainstream, it's there. It's a little bit like, your snowflake community now going, God, do actually some people believe that global warming doesn't exist? It's along that ridicule, that intellectual, to set yourself apart and to put these people and say, look at them, look how backward that is. It's a joke. The reason the joke has to be there is that the debate is in society.
Yeah. Again, I think they've either intentionally or unintentionally had it permeate out into the masses. So when they had the guy from the Flat Earth Society on that 70s quiz show, obviously that's a version of the controlled narrative, keeping the idea out there for ridicule so that it can be, joked about during a game show. So it's even separate to the main theme of the show. It's not like he's there to discuss Flat Earth. He just gets asked a few cursory questions about his way of seeing the world, which are put across in a kind of 50% truth, 50% absolute ludicrous assertion, like 9.8 meters per second pancakes flying up through space. All that crap needs permeating. So they do it in a controlled way. Whereas this time, unless you believe everything Pete Shea says, not everybody in this arena is some controlled operative that's here to, I don't know what he bloody claim, dilute the waters of 9/11 or something like that. I'm just your average Joe, so is everyone else in this panel as far as I'm aware. In other words, it's not the same as the dude on TV who's from the Flat Earth Society, who's absolutely got an agenda, even if he doesn't know it, in terms of making sure that the narrative goes out in the way they want it to go out. Basically giving the audience all the straw men they need to be burnt should they ever align with that dude and his way of thinking about the flat earth. So we're different. And I think the cracks that have opened up so wide now that there is no amount of cement or what I used to call the heliocentric smear of bullshit that can fill those cracks. They're just too wide. If they're having to disclaim that the mathematics of their model doesn't represent reality, that's essentially a declaration of their own defeat. And you can't hear that if you're on their own side and hear, yeah, the model's just the maths. Well, the maths of what? If your horizon isn't the horizon we see, it's not the horizon we see. This isn't going to be squared in the minds of anybody with any sort of decent cognitive processing. It's just going to be pain and an attempt to generate the cognitive dissonance they thrived on so much before. But literally now I cannot say to them, you trust Fundy. It's like, I can't even trust in that anymore. It's just literally an untenable religion now. And anybody who doesn't see it is going to be, either genuinely stupid or in so much cognitive pain that they're just trying to find a way out and rationalize it any way they can. And that's what we're seeing in the liars that we get here currently. They're thrashing out and lying about what they've said in the past because it now doesn't work with the current paradigm and the massive hemorrhaging that it's suffering at the hands of the black swan. So all they can do is lie about their previous positions. You're like, that's got to hurt. There's no way out for them anymore. For the fundies, it is game over. There's no more just trusting in R and trusting in all levels of weird refraction and holograms. R's bust. It's untenable now. It doesn't work. The globe model's dead. It's debunked.
Well, that was your way to kill the conversation, Nathan.
I will say that video with the old lady shit. I mean, that was so awesome. I was smiling the whole time. Like, it's so, I don't know. It was so like happy to see how happy she was to realize truth that she had already had the inkling of, and to hear that she was literally taught that it was flat. And it's like, and the first thing I thought was, wait, so we got people like Brian Cox running around telling people, oh, nobody thought the earth was flat. Really? Meanwhile, we have a lady that's still alive and talking about how she was taught and remembers the switch from that to, oh, now it's a globe.
Yeah, well, my great grand was also taught flat earth. No one believed me. Till his video came out, they could actually prove it.
Hey, Nathan, I have a short day. I got to go, but I do want to make a comment before I go. The modus tollens that QE put out says if Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959. It's not saying Earth is a swan for some of these people out there that don't understand the argument. So if Earth is a sphere and you have a radius of 3959, then based on the observer height, you're going to see curvature depending on your observer height, i.e. the horizon. Now they've got 7/6R, and they say the atmosphere is curving. Well, they can't say that anymore. If they're not going to use geometry, then they can't be saying the atmosphere is curving. What's it curving over if we can't see the curve? So they're double dead because their geometry doesn't match their sphere and our observations.
Would that be actual horizon? Would that be actual horizon then?
Yeah, physical. That's the word we are all missing. Just use the word physical. Their geometry is an assertion of a physicality to Earth that is spherical. That's the whole claim. So where we have, if the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, they say the Earth's a sphere. Well, them saying that the Earth's a sphere has physical implications. And geometry is fixed. So if you're out there thinking that this is just an anomaly, that's an oxymoron. You don't have anomalies in the physicality. And if you're claiming spherical physicality to our Earth, then it's got to have spherical physicality. Beyond your model, it's not just, oh, well, the model's just the model. It's not based on the actual horizon. It's like, that's your loss then, isn't it? Because that's what your model's claiming. The physicality of the world is a la your model. And it isn't. It's just a load of maths you do to convince yourself that the world's a sphere. When it isn't. Because we don't have a physical geometric horizon for boats to go over. We don't have a physical geometric horizon to block buildings in the distance. We don't have a physical geometric horizon to bend at altitude and turn into a sphere when you get to Narnia, a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum. None of that's true. It's all been debunked. So, believe your lying priests if you wish, but you can't trust in their values anymore. The geometry's bunk. It doesn't match the reality. It isn't the reality. The reality of our horizon's not physical. It's just as simple as that. It needs to be if you've got a physical sphere Earth beneath your feet. And in the same way as Anthony described Bill Nye showing what happens on the physicality of a sphere, well, that's what we are talking about when we talk about the geometry that you guys think we have to the Earth we're living on. And we don't. That's debunked. You've only got the model. So It doesn't in any way, shape or form refer to the reality we're living in. We don't have a sphere physical horizon anymore. It's gone. Goodbye. It's not going to suddenly become physical again tomorrow for all those idiots that are going, look, here's a white swan. I'm looking at you, Sean Hawkins and Blue Marble Science. You're morons. Your own side's having to justify the non-physicality of your horizon when your model's got a physical horizon. It's game over. You just don't know it yet.
They're everywhere, man. Game over, man.
Somebody mirrored your horse race video, Anthony. I don't know if you know. It's Andrew Thomas Young coming up to the first jump, and he's fallen at the first hurdle. He's taken Looming with him. He's taken everybody else with him.
We got four trolls in chat.
So we didn't get through all the way through housekeeping. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
I've just realised I was on mute. I was chatting away to myself. No, you're right. It's hilarious that Trolls versus Trolls has mirrored it, because it's like a bit of light-hearted humour doesn't do this topic any harm. And I just realised that it is that way when Andrew Thomas Young takes everybody out at the first hurdle with the looming at the horizon and they all fall. Well, the only ones that are left then is like me, Nathan, John. And the reality is these guys don't realise that they've fallen at the first hurdle yet. They still think they're in the race. And it's like, guys, when you realise that you're dead, then you're going to have to become flat earthers. But yeah, it was great to see the four trolls in the at the end of the race, because that's just like what it is. You start winning and then you get trolled in chat.
Yeah, they used to use looming. Now Andrew Thomas Young has told them, use standard refraction, use terrestrial refraction, use 7/6R. Well, what's R? Well, if you look at their model, R's from the centre point of this presupposed spherical Earth to an X with the word horizon written next to it. So it's the demarcation point where they draw their tangent line to and claim things are physically blocked by, because of the physicality of our sphere Earth they claim we live on. Oh, what do you know? We don't have that as a horizon. It's non-physical, and they're all telling us just how non-physical it is and justifying why it's not in the physical location it needs to be geometric, as they claim in their model. So it's checkmate from every angle. And claim all you like that the physical geometric horizon isn't physical as a defence, so we can have a damn good laugh at you. Or beg the question and use 7/6R for an R value that requires a geometric horizon that you no longer have, because that's checkmate too. Or tell us that the mathematics are just the model and don't actually represent the physical horizon. That's game over, a declaration that we don't live on a sphere that's geometric, as per your model. It's game over from every single angle. Black Swan. How beautiful.
The Black Swan.
Hey Adam,
Yeah.
any signs of any viable hypotheses from astrophysicists, cosmologists, or astronomers?
That's why I nipped off, Nathan, just to check, but no, I couldn't find one.
What about a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
There was nothing for that either.
Keen, Sleeping Warriors keen. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
They can't even define it, let alone prove it. We all see an effect that we think is caused by the mass of the Earth attracting things down, because nothing ever falls up, does it? Apart from helium balloons. So we all see the phenomena of things appearing to fall down, but we can equally explain it with relative density, because everything's more dense than the medium it's in. The fact that that medium's got an element of buoyancy to it doesn't mean gravity exists. It just means that helium balloons are less dense than it. And we can repeat it, we can test it, we can document it, we can prove it. Manipulate the medium, things move. End of.
Yeah, but you see, their whole basis is they have to have something to keep you from floating away. That's where their whole premise starts. What's keeping you from floating away? Instead of nothing's keeping you from floating away, because you don't float away.
Well, what makes you think that you would float away if gravity didn't exist when you're still more dense than the medium that you're in? Do they think that gravity affects the whole of your body, or do they? Because if you look at the Cavendish experiment, that's not really an experiment. It's quantified to be less than a 50 millionth of the object's weight. So even if gravity was a force, but then was removed, you still wouldn't float away because it's a 50 millionth of your weight.
Yeah, that's
I'm
Cavendish
just saying what the
nonsense,
premise
though.
is based on.
Cavendish nonsense, 100 years out of date. Just a quick shout out to Awaken Narrative, who actually does streams. The guy we were talking about for the majority of the pre-show has just dropped me a super chat. Thank you very much for your support, Awaken Narrative. Really, really appreciate it. But yeah, check out the check out the pre-show. We talked about you quite a lot. Talked about High Five for the majority of the show, if I'm honest. So there we go. If you don't know what we're talking about, in the info box below this live stream, there's a link to my second channel, which is just called Nathan Oakley, and the Uncut and After show. The bit that the warm up when I do sound checks, which isn't necessarily the most exciting part of the show, but the Uncut has all of it. So the bit before the live show starts, and then technically once the live show is finished, the conversation tends to carry on, and that's the after show. So they go out on my second channel, which is Nathan Oakley. There's a link below. But Awaken Narrative, check it out. We talk about you because of your stream earlier today. I hope it was Awaken Narrative. I hope I've got completely the wrong person now. Was pretty early.
Should we pick on somebody in the Discord and see if we can get them to talk, Nathan? Let's see what they've got.
About the Discord. There's Brenda in there. You can have a
bring Brenda in. Let's see what she says about Horizon. See if she's learned what a Horizon is yet.
Good morning. You guys are all in a chipper mood lately.
Yeah, things are sweet.
Hi, Brenda.
So, if you were going to debunk your argument, how would you go about that?
I don't know.
Which argument you're referring to?
It's not us to debunk. It's for you to debunk.
No,
Yeah,
but that's how science works.
If you were going to debunk our argument, why would we need to debunk our argument?
I could answer that, but why are you asking that question?
Because she can't.
Because that's how scientists work.
This isn't scientific evidence. It's not scientific
their own-
evidence. It's not
their own
scientific evidence. Hello? This isn't science.
It's partly science.
Oh, yeah? No, it's not.
It's based on empirical observation. So
No, that's not science.
yeah, the art.
It seems we're
Yeah, it
immediately segueing into what is and isn't science. So, about that physical geometric horizon your globe model requires, and you don't have anymore, Brenda. About that physical horizon that you don't have. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Your argument is fallacious.
Oh, really? How so?
Yes, it commits the fallacy of equivocation.
Do you know what equivocation is?
What?
Do you know what the fallacy of equivocation is?
Okay. Equivocation is when you use a word with two different senses, two different meanings in different ways in the same argument. So you
what word are we
equivocate
using
between two different meanings of the word.
So can you tell us what word we're using out of context?
Horizon.
Oh, really? So what's the two contexts that we're using horizon in then?
Geometric versus apparent. Your
No,
argument
we're not.
equivocates
We're
between
saying
the
that there's
two
no
different
equivocation
meanings.
and there is no geometric horizon. That's the opposite of equivocation.
Okay, hold on. Brenda, both
didn't catch the beginning of
both have got apparent aspects to them. So a physical geometric horizon is apparent based on your height. So to say that your geometric versus apparent, you don't understand what apparent means clearly, because the physical geometric sphere horizon has aspects that make it apparent also. It's based on height. So it'll move with height. So it's apparent also. It's a redundant word. So this juxtaposition you're claiming we have... Hold on! This juxtaposition where you claim we have an equivocation is actually a misunderstanding. You don't understand the redundancy of the word apparent in this instance. So no, we're not equivocating. You need to go away and understand what the word apparent means in regards to these two things that you have confused an equivocation with. No, 1 + 1 = no one. Why have you got your mic wide open?
So there's two different meanings. There's geometric and apparent horizon.
No, that's
Geometric is not the
equivocating the word
apparent
horizon.
Sorry,
It's
did
two
she not
You don't
just listen?
see-
She didn't listen to a word I just said. Geometric has an aspect of an apparent nature based on height. Geometric is also apparent based on height. So to juxtapose apparent with geometric is ludicrous because you have this redundant term in one of them. So comparing something that is also apparent with something apparent, this is nonsense and you're misunderstanding about the word apparent. So I don't want it to repeat. I don't need it three more times, Brenda. Okay? You don't understand what these words mean. You! So while you're telling us that we're guilty of equivocation, you don't know what apparent means. So toddle along and go and study up what your horizon entails. I'll tell you now, it's physicality that you no longer have. The horizon's not physical. Okay? So you need, your model requires, because it's a geometric model, a geometric horizon. A physical point you draw a tangent line to. You write a little X in your model and write the word horizon next to it. It's physical. It's the claim we live on a sphere, love. Now, we don't have a physical horizon. Not apparent. That's a redundant word that you don't understand and seem to claim we're equivocating when you juxtapose geometric, also apparent, with apparent, redundant, in the word horizon. So piss off and go and learn what these words mean before you start charging us with not understanding them. You complete retard. You don't understand them. Do you hear me? Shit for brains. You don't know what apparent means, Brenda.
I thought you had turned a new leaf and were being...
Why don't you go fuck off? You don't know what apparent means, you dumb bitch. Don't think to start ad homing me with how I'm going to behave. You're thick. Stupid idiot. You don't know what the word apparent means. You've used this claim that we are being fallacious. We're not. You're just thick and don't know what apparent means. Don't claim I'm needing to turn over a new leaf. I'm telling you like it is. You stupid moron.
She's getting mixed up with the Ballbusters show where John said that people could rejoin with a clean slate. She thinks that applies here.
Oh, does she? No, here, when someone's stupid, I'll call them stupid. Because they are. If you don't know what apparent means, you're stupid. If you're going to say you're comparing apparent with geometric. No, geometric's also got an aspect of apparent nature by virtue of its changing with height. Yeah? So, no, it's not comparing apparent with geometric. Idiot. Just dealing with thickos. They don't even know what the words we're using mean. In this context, the sphere is claimed to have physical geometry that physically blocks buildings and physically bends as you go up until you reach Narnia, this sky vacuum bullshit we don't have, where only the Narnia wizards go. And they claim your horizon, the physical geometric horizon, will eventually bend into a complete circle. Yeah? That's physical. That's what you're claiming. That's your bloody religion. That we live on a bloody physical sphere. And that sphere has physical geometry and a physical geometric horizon. Or it did until we debunked it.
Good point, Brenda.
Yeah, rest in peace to the geometric horizon.
Do we get a concession, Brenda, or?
There are two different horizons. Geometric.
No, that's an equivocation, though, Brenda, because you can't produce evidence for one of them.
So when I told her I don't need it 3 more times, this moron, who doesn't understand what apparent means, thought that it was necessary to give us it a 3rd time, rather than a concession that she doesn't know what apparent means. Why aren't you conceding you don't know what apparent means? You've just juxtaposed geometric with apparent. You complete retard.
That's equivocating, Brenda.
Yeah, so you're guilty of the thing you've claimed we're guilty of, Brenda. You stupid dick. How dare you? You're not only a liar, because you came here last time and lied about your total independence of anybody else, having cited Hillbilly Blue Balls, the redneck retard, only moments earlier. You're a liar, and now you're guilty of claiming we're guilty of the thing you've done. Equivocate.
I have not equivocated.
Yes, you have, you stupid shit for brains. You've used one word that has got two meanings in your mind. Non-physical, you've used the word apparent incorrectly. So you're equivocating. You're just too stupid to understand. Why do we even talk to these retards? They don't know the words they're using, literally. They have no idea what they're saying. Yeah, they'll come here and tell us we're equivocating. My God, the arrogance and disgusting nature of these people is getting too much to bear. Shout out to DJ Neo Shaman. Awesome job, Nathan and crew. Hashtag Black Swan for the win. Who's just joined? I know who this is. It's Chris, isn't it?
Hey, yeah, it's Chris. Sorry, I joined on my other account.
No worries.
It always makes me switch and I always forget.
What's going on, Chris?
Hey, Chocolate, what's up?
You tend to join for
Not
a
much,
reason,
man.
Chris.
Sorry?
You've normally got a purpose.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm easily figured out then because, I listening to this Horizon debate the last so many number of weeks, and is it art? Is it apparent? Is it physical, geometric, etc.? And even the conversation you were just having with Brenda is it's sort of a mix of it's both, right? It's geometric, but then it's apparent when we need it to be. And so I don't know. I just went and really quickly did a test on my counter where I did my last test, just messing with some force perspective things. And basically I took two pieces of wood, and I can share, I have a little video if you want to see it, but I took two different lengths of wood of about the same width and height, and I put them right next to each other, and I lowered my camera to the point where I created an artificial horizon on the pieces of wood at about the same length, or where it appears that that the two pieces are about the same length, but one of them is longer and one of them is shorter. And so I was gonna maybe show that video and see what you guys thought, and see if you could guess which one was longer.
Yeah, go ahead. Did you want to share your screen?
Yeah, let me screen share.
So just while you're doing that, Professor Phil Bell says, who said the geometric horizon is not physical? I don't know if you've been keeping up to date, but we've got this image called the Black Swan, where it demonstrates unequivocally that your horizon is not in a position that's geometrically conducive with your sphere model. So we've debunked the notion of having a physical horizon. Hence, all of your own side are explaining to us why we don't have a physical horizon in the photographs that we see, Professor Phil. Try and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Go ahead, Chris. You're on.
Okay, so I'm presenting, and this is a video, but I'm not going to play the video. So this is kind of a good screenshot of what I'm talking about. So as you see here on the left, there's I don't even know what it's called. It's a plank or something, piece of wood, and it goes out onto my countertop. And then on the right is a separate piece of the same type of wood, but the difference is there's different lengths. But as you notice that as I lower my camera to a certain height, the apparent horizon of each piece of wood is about the same. Now there's different, it's cheap wood, so there's different like bends and wobbles. If they were perfectly flat, then the apparent horizon would be perfectly straight. But either way, the point is the same. So, my question would be, and honestly, just for fun, you guys can do it, which piece of wood is actually longer and extends further into the distance?
I'm going to go with the right one.
I'll go with the right one. In fact, actually, I'll go with the other one just to be contrarian.
Okay, I'll go right. Sleeping Warrior goes left.
Okay, one right, one left. Anybody else?
As we're looking at it from our point of view, left-hand side screen, Anthony, right-hand side screen, me.
Got it. Anybody else want to take a guess?
Go on, Chocolate.
Any takers? Adam? Chocolate? Paul?
I'm sorry, I didn't. Somebody was talking to me. I didn't hear the full premise. I don't want to make you say it again if you don't want.
That's okay. Adam, did you hear that? If not, we'll just move on. We've got enough to 2 guesses.
Okay.
I think on the one on the right is the shorter one.
You think the one on the right shorter? Okay.
Okay. So I could ask a second question just for fun, another follow-up fun question about. So now you've guessed which one's shorter or longer. The other question is by how much?
I'm going to go about a foot.
To be honest, my gut reaction, if I look at that, it looks like the one on the left is half the distance of the one on the right.
I would say no. I'd say one's just about a foot longer. Any more questions, or do we get to find out?
No, I'll just play it. That's good. Where's the play button? There you go. And then at some point, I actually zoomed in just to see, like, you could tell the difference either.
I still can't tell the
camera
difference.
around.
I still don't know.
Zoomed in just to see, and that actually probably makes it even harder to tell, but either way. So here we go. And the reveal.
Oh, goddamn.
No way. The other way around.
No way.
I was right. I was right.
Yeah.
Cool. Very
so
cool.
Better luck next time.
So now we need to know what the point of this message was.
Because he's developed he's just explaining the physicality of it. This, just by the fact that he's done this, tells me straight away that Chris understands the point of the argument. The point of the argument is the physicality. So you can run a tape measure along these things and physically measure how long they are, and that's going to dictate where the obstruction happens, what you're going to see past it, because it's based on its physicality. So he's creating false physical horizons in his field of view. Well, that's what we're talking about. If you're going to claim that instead of a long piece of wood, you've got a spherical ground beneath your feet, well, that's the physicality of the ground beneath your feet, and that's what makes up their calculations. So it's essentially an argument about whether or not we've got the physicality of sphere. That's it's the essence of the argument. This is why it grinds my gears when people don't get it. It's like the very essence of this argument is they assert Earth's a sphere. And we're saying, if Earth's a sphere, it's going to behave like a sphere. And that's absolutely tied down to the physical restraints of their geometry, as they claim them. If you've debunked it, i.e. it's no longer a physical position that's marking where you'll draw a tangent line to, well then it's no longer the physical geometry of a sphere. So it's game over. So
yeah, well, you've basically encapsulated their position perfectly. What they say is that we live on a sphere, but it looks and behaves flat. That's their argument.
Well, it can't. The geometry it dictates what you have. It necessitates a geometric horizon. It necessitates a physical obstruction. The 140-foot wall that we were so exasperated about when we talked about the Isle of Man. The hump, the bulge, the thing that was removed from the curve calculator and we never knew why. Why would they remove the bulge? That makes no sense. Oh well, moving on. Now we know why. It's the bloody linchpin. The physicality of the Earth and its geometric model gives you this point with an X on it called the horizon. They draw a tangent line to it and tell you how much is blocked by that particular physicality of their geometric model. Once you debunk that you have a geometric horizon, you no longer have any validity to that geometric model. Game over, Globe. Should another shout out to Awaken Narrative. No one does it better than Nathan Oakley. Depends what you're talking about, but generally yes. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate your support. And another shout out to James Richard. Let's just scroll down and grab your... Brenda, did you get that? What was your guess and what it caused by the wood going over a curve? ? Well, hopefully she heard you. Another shout out to Retro Bill, who says, excellent show, boys. Better every day.
The problem with Brenda is you never get a straight answer.
I always tried to think that's because I do the Socratic method. I always thought the best of you, Nathan. I always thought the best of you.
Oh, shut up. Why is this immediately turned into a fucking ad hom? We heard 3 times that there's 2 different horizons. No, the fucking isn't. Now it's turned into a personal attack on me. How dare you? I always thought the best of you. Who gives a shit? We're arguing about the physicality and nature of our reality, and you want to tell me what you think of me. I don't care what you think of me. I couldn't care less. I'm interested in the physical horizon you don't have for your geometric model anymore. And you've told me we've got 2 horizons. Wrong. One's geometric and one's apparent. Wrong. Totally demonstrates that you're equivocating. The thing you claimed we're doing. And when I put that to you and somebody super chatted and asked what your response was, you reasserted your claim for the 3rd time. And now you're telling me you think less. I don't care. You've lost. And you've accused us of the very thing you're guilty of. You are a disgusting human being. And with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making this live show possible. If you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. As I say, thank you to both Discord and G+ panels. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on the premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Afraid of this black swan of yours, Nathan. Not even slightly.
Why are you even talking to me?
Well,
You disgust me. You lie, and then you come and accuse us of things that we've proven you're guilty of. And here you are telling me that you've thought less of me. You disgust me.
We are not afraid. We are not running around with our heads cut
Sorry,
off.
who cares? Nobody cares. Nobody cares what you're doing.
We're not the slightest bit frightened of this black swan of yours. Not even slightly.
You keep telling us there's 2 horizons. There isn't. You're stupid. You keep telling us that it's a comparison between geometric and apparent. It isn't. You're stupid. So what do you want from us? A 4th assertion of your stupid claim?
How does an
Actually, it kind of sounds like you're afraid by you sitting here saying how afraid you're not. It kind of sounds like you're doing the opposite, Brenda.
Pure projection.
Well, here's an idea, Nathan. On a flat Earth, every horizon should be behind every object, right?
So what the hell does this have to do with our argument and your religion of us being on a sphere and the lack of geometry and physicality to the horizon? That's our argument. She's making up some ad hoc new crap argument about the horizon on a flat Earth.
Well, it makes sense, right? Because
sorry, Brenda, you don't have a geometric physical horizon. You're yet to address it other than to tell us, A, we've got 2 of them, you're wrong, and B, say it's a comparison between geometric and apparent, wrong. So, no, we're not moving on to your stupid shit claim, you disgusting, vile human being who lies through her back teeth and then claims we're guilty of the things you do. So, stop projecting your nastiness and your fear, which you clearly do have, as Chocolate's rightly correctly pointed out. Stop projecting how terrified you are. You don't have a geometric physical horizon as per your model. It necessitates one. I don't want to hear anything about your crap and what you think about us, how you're feeling, how you project your fear about the situation onto us. Not interested in any of that. I don't care. I just want you to tell me why you've told us we've got 2 horizons, you bonehead. We haven't. Why you've told us it's a comparison between apparent and geometric when it's not. It's about physical and non-physical, geometric versus optical. That's the argument. Flat Earth says it's perspective. You morons say it's a physical obstruction. Yeah, that's what it boils down to. So that's what I want to talk about. And you've told us there's 2.
Yeah, I understand. So you want to know why I say that?
I don't care what you say. You've lost. We're waiting for a concession. No, that's not what I want. Shut up talking. No, that's not what I want, you disgusting, vile liar. No, I want a concession. You don't have a physical horizon and your model requires one. I want you to concede it, because it's a fact.
Can you demonstrate that fact?
Yeah, we can. We've got this picture that demonstrates a geometric impossibility in the horizon. It's called the Black Swan. You've seen it. We've discussed it. Your whole bloody team is flapping around, justifying how non-physical the horizon is now. Your model, on the other hand, necessitates a physical horizon. That's what you claim the world is. We just don't have that. We don't have a physical geometric horizon. And I want you to concede it.
No, absolutely. The globe Earth model absolutely requires a physical geometric horizon.
And you don't have one, so you can fuck off. That's as good a concession as we're going to get. Yeah, we don't have one, and your model requires one. It's a geometric model. Game over, globe. Goodbye, Brenda. You've got nothing else to offer.
Can I ask Brenda a question? If the horizon moves, how is it physical?
The horizon moves depending on the observer, right?
No, depending on weather and depending on how clear the air is.
Yeah.
No, not
The
about just
geometric
out.
horizon
Sorry,
never-
Brenda. You just said depending on where the observer is. A geometric physical horizon is apparent based on height. That's it.
It's not apparent. It's real. It's physical.
Sorry, we've already established that you don't have the slightest clue what the word apparent means. You're a stupid idiot. Do not tell me again what apparent means, you complete dumbo. If you tell me again when you don't understand what bloody apparent means, I'll kick you out. Understand this, you dumb, stupid idiot. You don't know what the words you're using mean. Now, I've told you to toddle off and look up what these words mean, and you haven't. You've still been here. So don't tell me again what apparent means. You don't know.
I do know what these things mean. It means clearly visible, and that's the apparent horizon where the sky appears to meet the horizon, which it doesn't.
Where the sky appears to meet the horizon. That's not what the definition is. Shut up! No, not where the sky appears to meet the horizon. That's just stupid. That's not the definition.
The sky. The sky meets the ground.
The sky doesn't meet the ground.
I know where it appears to.
Right. So apparent appears to, not actual.
Not a physical location.
Not a physical.
Oh, it's actual.
No. It needs to be physical. In your model, it's physical. We've demonstrated it isn't physical. That's the concession I'm looking for, Brenda. Your model requires a geometric physical horizon. That's not what we have in reality.
Yes, we do have the geometric horizon. These are two separate things.
What are two separate things?
The geometric and the apparent horizon are two...
There we go again with this fuckwit stupid retard telling me that there's a juxtaposition between geometric and apparent when geometric is apparent, you stupid fucktard. So you are going to fucking do it for the fourth time, you complete mental retard. I'm not going to let you assert the same shit 5 times, you stupid parrot. Is that the only thing you can do? Assert the same shit that I've taken apart based on your misapprehension about what the word apparent means? What, 5 more times of this, Brenda? I said if you do it again, I'm going to eject you. Nobody else is going to get to ask Brenda and you should fuck off. 5 times the same assertion. How many more times? Is it unreasonable? Should I have to take the same claim to pieces 6 times? Is that reasonable?
No, not reasonable. And the really hilarious part, she was equivocating.
Yeah, we told her that. She didn't concede. She said how disappointed I was and she thought I was turning over a new leaf, rather than concede the guilt that we proved of her equivocation. These people are scum.
She went out of her way to tell us how scared of the black swan they're not. Which is like, okay.
This is
your pain,
starting chocolate with. So, how would you argue the black swan then?
Yeah. I would give us some tips on how you would defeat your own argument, please, because we apparently can't figure it out.
I think that's the number one point that came out of their crisis meeting. What should we do? We'll ask them what to do. They seem quite good at this.
Well, they've also been very good up until now of just using our arguments. Well, saying, well, of course the horizon's based on perspective. Oh, right, not geometric like your model then. So up until now, it's been just embarrassingly blurt out our argument as a defence. Now they've just chosen to actually ask us, well, how would you give our argument as a defence to you? rather than just blurt out flurfspective.
Nathan, you want these guys in the after show?
Yeah, we're done with the live show. Yeah, should come into the let chaos commence.
All right. 25 seconds.
Good presentation, by the way, Chris. Well done.
Thanks. Yeah, I just got back. Had to step away for a few minutes, but I was gonna ask Brenda there if she saw my presentation and what she thought about it, because basically, and Anthony, I know. Anthony, you asked kind of what the point was. Well, hopefully there's a couple points. The first is I used flat pieces of wood. I created a forced apparent horizon on a flat surface. So the point is, or one of the points rather, is if you looked at the end of the boards, you couldn't tell if those boards continued to go on straight or if they curved, right? So part of the argument is, well, that right there proves you can have a flat surface with an apparent horizon that extends on further than you can tell. So that's one point. Of course, the other point is that the horizon is apparent, and depending on my position and height and all those things, it's going to change depending on all those factors.
Just for the record, I did know what your point was. I just wanted you to emphasize it. That was all.
Oh, okay. Got it. I was like, I'm surprised Anthony isn't getting it, but that makes sense.
There's people out there that are just not getting it. They don't understand because my own fault, really, because I put so many redundant terms into describing something being not physical, not actual, apparent, blah, 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 that people have taken that and gone, okay, well, that means that on the one side we've got geometric, and on the other side we've got apparent. I mean, I'm glad it was Brenda that did it, but, that's good because it means I can then point out, well, no, QE's done this, he did it in the presentation, it was obvious to me from the start, and yes, I know QE, you're listening and you were cringing when I was doing it, but there was method in my madness, but it did add confusion, I'm just going to, admit it. But now we're at the point where it's like, no, we're actually describing the physicality of the world that they say we live on. It really is as beautiful as that. They say the world is physically a sphere, and that's got ramifications in terms of what the physicality would present itself as. And if you haven't got that geometry, if you haven't got that geometric edge, straight away, there's no point in me getting into these rambly little monologues, because some wanker's got their mic wide fucking open.
Yeah, I'm trying to find them, man.
I hate the after show now. It's just people come in, they don't really offer much except sitting eating crisps with their mic open.
I think it might be on your end.
It's not on my end. Because I've got levels going up and down. I know it's coming from.
It's not popping up on Discord though. I checked the whole line when it was happening. It wasn't here.
Anyway, I'll round out my point and then I'll go on mute and moan to myself. It's about the physicality that they must have. Everything that their starting point is the physical sphere Earth that we're standing on. That's what they're claiming. So relinquishing physicality in any way, shape or form, when their whole basis of their religion is a geometric physical model, is to deny their own model, is to relinquish their own model, is to say we haven't got their model in reality. They're basically giving us disclaimers left and right. But because they don't overtly say you've won, wow, I can't actually get around this argument, they say things like, well, the maths of the model doesn't represent the actual horizon. It's like, well, yeah, that's what we're saying. Your model doesn't represent reality. So we're winning, but we're just getting these sort of slightly weaselly concessions, which is the best you can expect. But, they know they're doing it. They know they're not actually coming up with a proper rebuttal. It's just conceding our argument. In some cases saying, yeah, we've got an optical horizon, of course. It's based on perspective. It's like, dude, didn't you just throw flurfspective against us 6 months ago? There it is again. Who is doing that?
Yeah, not here.
So, I was listening to Sean G's yesterday, and he's now on the flat Earth train as far as how to explain the apparent horizon. And he's now in outs with Rumpus and George Natchik, because they're on the other side still claiming that it's physical obstruction, and Sean G's claiming it's not physical, it's apparent. So even those ballers are in different camps now about what it is and how to explain it.
This is ridiculous.
Oh, boy.
Because, you know, the funniest thing? It's apparent horizon is redundant. Redundant.
talking
It's
about?
like dark nights. Chromatic rainbows. They're idiots. Sorry.
I'm pretty sure the fact that you make fun of it is a proof that you don't understand the shit at all.
Say again?
I said, I'm pretty sure the fact that you make fun about it is the proof that you don't understand it at all.
What's it?
Oh, you got it. Yeah.
What's it?
Yeah, it's what kids do in middle school.
What's it?
That you sound like a grown man, so it's weird.
What's it?
And
You said when you make
What
fun
don't
of
they
it.
understand?
What's the it in your statement? What are you talking about?
what he mentioned, the whole horizon is up and redundant.
Keep
Trying to make fun of it because he has nothing to say.
Keep your finger on the mic button when you speak and try and give us a whole sentence that's not broken in between. What is it in your statement?
I just said it. Did you not understand?
Last chance.
Can't hear you.
Last chance. I'd like to identify what it in your statement actually is. Please can you tell us? Thank you.
I guess not.
Very productive. Thank you very much. Prismal. Very helpful. Thank you.
My check.
I would say, Nathan, you were saying before how it's been confusing for people when using the word apparent horizon and stuff. But I don't know. I don't think it's confusing if you understand the definition of a horizon. I think the only thing that they're confused about is that their geometric one requires a physical limit as to what you can see. But obviously, it's still apparent because it depends on your observer height and atmosphere and stuff like that.
Not atmosphere.
So if you understand what the horizon,
not atmosphere, just observer height. We're talking
observer
about
height, right?
When we're talking about geometry, the geometric horizon, you're talking about its physicality, not its non-physicality based on optics. So it's just its physicality and it's apparent based on height. End of statement.
Right, but I think the ballers forget that there is a physical limit to what you can see, and they just think that that limit could just be extended however much they want. Just add a one, carry the one, add some more radius. It's like ridiculous, man. Makes no sense.
There's only one way to extend the physicality of this horizon if you're to claim it's geometric, and that is to increase the radius value. The radius value gives you your geometric horizon, so if it's greater than the claimed position, it's an increase in physicality. Well, like I've said, when I try and make fun of it and say, well, we haven't had somebody pump up the globe to increase the radius value, that's an impossibility. That's why it's debunked as being a physical location, because it can't physically grow and shrink. Now, when you're talking about, well, what we see of it, in terms of the way the light moves, well, then you're no longer describing the geometry. And their model's geometric. It's the beginning, middle, and end of their argument. People will get it eventually. It's just very simple. It's just going to take some time.
My check.
Hey, Brian.
You're good.
Hey Nathan, hey Kiwi, hey everybody. That guy that came in a minute ago, that we couldn't hear him, he was breaking up. That's actually progress. Because what he was actually saying was, you don't understand. That's what he was saying. So instead of spending a whole hour arguing, now people like him are going straight to, you don't understand.
Yeah, I didn't really get that. Yeah, maybe just some projection from that dude earlier saying you're taking the mick out of the horizon because you don't understand it. Most of the time, people just project out their own ineptitude. So, I mean, no doubt that this guy's, doesn't understand the argument or what the horizon is either, and is therefore claiming we don't as a projection.
No, I don't think so. I think he was claiming that the horizon was apparent and redundant. He just couldn't get it out because his connection was going bad. I don't think it was anything negative.
My bad.
I could be wrong, but it was hard to hear him.
What I heard from him, I heard him at the start, and he was being negative. He basically was saying to QE that if you're taking the piss out of it, then you don't understand it, as if there's something complicated about the horizon.
Yeah, that's what I was getting from it. But again, I couldn't hear everything, so I don't want to prejudge. But yeah, I was getting that hint too. Right.
No, that's not really what I...
Can you clear it up for us then, sir?
It is. Is my connection better?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Go ahead.
You want me to repeat, or because I just mentioned you when I...
Go ahead. Yeah. What was your statement?
No shit, Sherlock.
I didn't have a particular scientific statement. I was just saying that if you may, you have nothing better to do fun of it, because you probably don't understand it. It's like what middle-aged
scholars do. What don't we understand?
You, not all.
Oh, what don't I understand?
Probably the whole.
Well, I love your attention to detail. Yeah, that's what I thought. What don't I understand specifically?
The horizon being redundant. That's why you made it.
No,
Not
the horizon being redundant. When people say the apparent horizon is being redundant, because the horizon is apparent inherently. So what don't you understand?
Just to reiterate, the word apparent is redundant. The horizon, by definition, is the apparent position where the sky meets the ground. Well, it doesn't meet the ground, it's apparent. It seems to meet the ground. It doesn't actually meet the ground. All of these things suggest non-actual, not actual, apparent. So by definition, the horizon is an apparent thing. So to call it an apparent horizon is to call it the apparent position where the sky meets. It's just redundant.
Anything else we don't understand?
I just want to see if that guy understands now that he's telling us we don't understand something, and we're explaining to him how saying apparent horizon is saying the apparent position where the sky meets the ground. It's redundant, not horizon, but the word apparent as defined and argued about with Brenda and QE explained in maybe a dozen presentations. So I just don't understand. I'm suggesting, though, that would be projection, that perhaps you don't understand the horizon in this argument, and therefore want to rage at us and tell us we don't understand and are stupid, when we definitely do understand. Is it projection?
He's going radio silent. He's stonewalling us.
Alrighty then. Yep, lots of projection going on at the moment. We get told that we are stupid and don't understand the horizon because we're making the most concise and coherent argument about the horizon which debunks sphere geometry. Therefore, you don't understand the horizon, is the defense we get.
No, I think even better is we're not scared of your black swan. Brother.
The next sequence of events I would venture to guess is I would probably start taking screenshots of Andrew Thomas Young's website. Just saying.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time that they've changed the narrative on us. Mick West changed his website numerous times. There'll be other websites that have changed. Wasn't one of the citations for the independent variable recently changed, John? No, was it the University of Northern Carolina?
Yeah, totally eliminated. Gone. Bye-byes. You
one of the
people are so
citations
desperate. It's pathetic.
So one of the citations I use in my 10 reasons why an independent variable must be manipulated, because everybody thinks, because people like Sean Huffraud and idiots that don't understand scientific method, they think that time is an independent variable and nature can be left to its natural devices. So when I made the video with 10 citations in it saying that they couldn't, for some reason, one of them is now missing. Shout out to M. Scott Veach, who gets stuff removed off the internet because he doesn't like it and it doesn't support his narrative.
He's got a lot of work left to do.
Well done. Say again, John.
He's got a lot of work left to do. And plus, we just hit the Wayback Machine, right? That's all we do. Clowns.
Yeah, but a lot
Shout
of
out
people
to
don't
the
realize
FE community for helping fix globe Earth heliocentric system. Yahoo!
Say that again, dude. Hello. What the hell's going on? Is this some kind of internet troll thing? What's going on?
Nah. It was fixing their broken system. Can you speak up, sir?
Yeah. Why do you think these debates aren't being suppressed?
They are being suppressed.
That's just too.
What is it?
They are.
The debates are being suppressed, yet you have one every day?
Yeah, that's correct.
Flat Earth's been getting suppressed for the last 12 months when YouTube admitted they were going to clamp down on Flat Earth-related topics because they called it conspiracy.
Did you not see that? Where the woman literally was questioned specifically by Congress about what they were going to do about Flat Earth? It's very much an issue that they're dealing with. And that dealing with it is... excuse me. Thank you. So they've very much told us that they are dealing with it. And that dealing is suppression. No matter how much you... Who's talking again? I'd just like to get through the end of the sentence, if everybody's cool with that. They've made it publicly, overtly obvious that it's a problem and needs dealing with. And they have dealt with it, and that dealing with it is suppression. What do you want? To quantify and qualify that suppression as justifiable in your mind when you're asking us why it's not being suppressed?
No, that's not what I'm asking at all. Did they say the word suppress the FE community?
I see. So because they haven't used the word suppressed, it means that they're dealing with it, and not putting it in front of as many people isn't suppressing it because it's not that word you've used. Like I care about your vocabulary. I don't.
Okay, now put yourself in their shoes.
Sorry, mate.
Yeah, we'll deal with it.
Mate, excuse me. So
I'm not,
you asked me.
I'm not done
sorry,
talking.
excuse me.
So you wanted me to shut the fuck up while you
don't
talk.
Swear at me.
So
you asked me about why we aren't being suppressed. Now you're suddenly moving on from that.
Thanks.
So we are.
Thanks.
Excuse me, we
this
are.
This is why ballers don't come on your fucking.
Why are you getting so aggressive with me? I'm saying you've come in and asked a question. Now you won't shut up. You've asked a question about us being suppressed. I've pointed out that we are. Excuse me. I've pointed out that we are. And rather than concede,
you said they was going to deal with it. Yeah, they're dealing with it. They're letting you do your fucking show so they can fix their fucking broken system.
It's clearly
you dumbass.
So painful for these fundies. They've got to censor the shit out of me. Yeah, mate, you came in and said the debates should be being censored. We've pointed out how they are, and you're moving on to a new subject. That's why I've interrupted you and stopped you. So when are you going to say, oh, right, I didn't really appreciate that. Yeah, you absolutely are. Like, you're claiming we're not. That was how you opened this conversation. So let's not move past that. Let's just draw a close to that. before you scattergun us with a new topic. That's why I'm interrupting you. So do you now appreciate that your question about why we're not being suppressed is completely irrelevant, given that we are, and we've shown that to you? Do you understand that now?
Oh, I can finally fucking talk. Thanks for interrupting me, by the way. I'm not saying that we should be suppressed. I asked myself yesterday, why aren't we being suppressed like...
We are, you stupid fucking moron! Are you deaf?
Stupid fucking
are you
prick,
fucking
motherfucker.
deaf? We are! I've just explained that to you, shit for brains. Are you deaf?
Are you gonna let me fucking talk, you people?
No, you stupid moron. I sat around yesterday asking myself the question, why aren't we being suppressed? Then I came on a public show and asked the question, why aren't you being suppressed? And then when it was pointed out to me that we are, I went on to tell you about my daydream the day before about how we aren't. What kind of moron are you?
The one that's gone.
These people circle in the same bloody groove of the record indefinitely. So they come in with an idea in their mind that if Flat Earth was actually real, it'd be suppressed. Why aren't you being suppressed? Oh, we are. Here's the examples of how they publicly admitted it. Well, yesterday I had the idea that we're being suppressed, so let's go back onto the idea of us being not suppressed again by daydreams I had yesterday. It's like, oh my God. So what? It's like, what, 4 more times of the same stupid claim that we're not being suppressed, and no admission whatsoever in the face of examples being given. Just a reassertion of the claim by way of a fucking daydream. These people drive you nuts. They just want to assert their claim and have it left out there without challenge. And if any challenge comes, they'll go la 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 la, rumpus the crap out of you, reassert it again 4 more times. So we are being suppressed then, contrary to his bullshit asking of us why we're not.
I don't know. I think I don't know. I don't want to divine thoughts, but it kind of sounded like he was trying to get to a point where saying, "Well, you don't seem to be suppressed because the show is on every day." It's like, so they haven't stopped you from broadcasting this every day, so it's not suppression. But I don't know if he's thinking about how it goes from the other side. They're not censoring you from stopping. They're not making you stop, broadcasting your show. They're censoring how the show gets out to people. 2 different things. I don't know. Maybe he's confused, or I don't know.
An Orthodox did the exact same thing. An Orthodox asked the same exact question, and when the exact same thing was pointed out to him, he went, well, they're not stopping your live streaming. So in other words, they're under the impression that, well, if it was actually anything to worry about, you'd be being censored. What's that? You are being censored. Oh, well, you're not being censored enough, though. It's like, what?
Right.
I thought we're getting
To me,
political, man.
To me, that's it.
They can't censor us the same way anymore.
No, because it's intertwined into pop culture. So when I see the tramp stamp underneath with Wiki, Flat Earth and the reification idea of an archaic model underneath the videos that are non-Flat Earth related, where they just happen to mention it, like a guy making a table, and someone said, oh, that looks a bit like a Flat Earth map. Oh, well, I'll call it the Flat Earth table and then put that in the title. Next thing you know, he's got a tramp stamp. Well, if anybody mentioning Flat Earth suddenly gets eradicated off YouTube, does the dude making tables get eradicated? What about the mainstream media? Got, what's his name, Philip Schofield and whatever her name is, interviewing Mark Sargent today. Does suddenly everything that they've discussed, because it's in the negative, get removed because it's discussing the topic? No, of course not. It's so interlaced throughout the whole platform that they can't. They've got no way of doing it. But we know for a fact that when you search this topic, you'll come up with every single negative outlet that's covered the subject first for hundreds of pages. So, given that we are definitely being pushed down the ranks, told that we need to be dealt with, telling people how we're being nonsensical by way of wiki underneath the videos, regardless of if you're pro or con, that's how they were being dealt with. And when we point that out, it's like, yeah, but if I was censoring you, I'd stop your live streaming. That's basically their defense. And because you're not doing it to that extreme example, you're basically cool, you're not being censored. That's their justification in their own mind, because they can't cognitively process their own argument. Their argument being, if this was a problem, it being censored, we are, oh, well, that's okay. It doesn't mean it's a problem. Because the level of censorship, not the censorship that you've just pointed out that was my argument originally, that I'll just ignore now.
It's worth pointing out as well that the reason why ballers can't come in is because every single argument that they make is based on either affirming the consequent, numerous fallacies that they bring up, numerous points that they bring up have got fallacies attached to them, and we're pretty good at spotting them now. We don't get every single one, and I'm sure we could improve, but virtually every single argument's affirming the consequent. They always say things like, well, if the Earth were a sphere, then we should see snow. We see snow, so it must be a sphere. And it's like, no, you idiot. And that's why they can't come in, because they can't beg the question, they can't have their fallacies. But they need their fallacies. That's why Jose's channel exists, because they can all go on there and beg their fallacious arguments, and that's what his channel's for.
That guy there, his problem is seems to be a common problem, is where he doesn't seem to understand, he can't understand that if this was a real conspiracy, then it would be like what Conspiracy Magazine says it would be, and to be all this stuff, that stuff happening. What he can't understand is that it isn't a conspiracy, it's a reality. And that's the difference. They're expecting the type of outcome that a conspiracy would bring. Something from the Alex Jones show or whatever nonsense, But it's not going to take that path, because it's not a conspiracy, it's a reality.
It does do my head in, though, when they moan because I stop them. They're like, oh, you're interrupting me. It's like, yeah, that's because you've reasserted the same bullshit claim I've just taken apart. And I'm tired of it. We had it on the live show, Brenda, 4 times. And when you get to the 5th, it's like, oh, shut up. I don't want to debunk this over and over and over and over and over again. And this dude was no different. It's like, he's got an idea that we're not being censored and he wants to argue that. When you take it apart, he'll just reassert it again. And then cry foul, and I'm like, shut up! Stop bloody repeating yourself with the same shit claim I've just debunked. It's just boring, gets tedious, and it gets my blood pressure too high too quickly. It's like, make your claim, and make a concession when you lose. Oh, right, so, yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, you are being censored. Yeah, they've overtly admitted it publicly. Yeah, I was wrong to assume that this is a valid argument to have with you. Or, just shut your chops. But no, they'll scream at you for censoring them when they basically want to rumpus the rebuttal, because it's coming for the second time and they heard it the first time. So when they've repeated their claim the second time, they know when to interrupt you and constantly shut you down. Well, let's not hear this rebuttal again. Let's just leave it with me making the claim and it being rumpusing from now on. That's far less damaging.
Seems like we have a scientist on board, Prismo. Speak up, son.
A pseudoscientist, John, or a real scientist that engages scientific method?
Talking about physics and math. Booga, booga, booga. Come on, son. What are the 3 constituent parts of a scientific experiment? Prismo. Oh, Prismo. Essay. You're a big talker on the keyboard. Let's go. Get her done. What are the 3 constituent parts of a scientific experiment, and briefly define each? Yeah, that's what I thought. Carry on.
You've had a pop at us for not knowing what the horizon is. It was obviously your pain and misunderstandings and misapprehensions about this argument about the horizon. Now you're in the chat talking about science. What gives, man?
Nathan, do you remember that guy, Nick with Noel? He got bullied by Pete Shea for the L standing for Lucifer. So he removed the L. So I called him Nick with Noel.
Nick now, yeah.
But me and Chocolate went into Where was it, Chocolate? It was somebody's. I can't remember where it was recently, but he was in there, and I didn't realize it was him initially. I asked him what did he do for a living. He said he's a physicist, and I said, "Is that a real physicist or a theoretical physicist?" And he said he was a visual an optical, I think he said, or a visual physicist, whatever that means. And I asked him, does he practice scientific method? And he claimed that he did. Me and Chocolate ran rings round him, and basically, he doesn't call himself a physicist anymore. Apparently, he calls himself an engineer. So shout out to Nick with Noel.
Go ahead, whistle again. You clowns.
Yeah, make my day.
Let's back to this. When they were taking a pummeling on the Isle of Man, all they could do was come in and cause a massive load of rumpusing, as it's now known. That's all they've got now. No arguments, just a bit of disruption. Oh, we're on mute.
The best thing is, Nathan, the ballers even call it rumpusing as well.
Rumpus called it rumpusing. He told you to stop rumpusing him.
I was just gonna say, Rumpus called it rumpusing. Rumpus told somebody stop rumpusing me.
Yeah, Anthony told Anthony.
It's funny. So,
Anthony, did any of them ever address your the observation you made from the sand, just at the water's edge?
Yeah, the one at Isle of Man.
2 years. 2 years now.
Well, yeah, we're still waiting for that. Slice Barkane asked me to go back and repeat the observation from the beach. So I went back and repeated it from the beach. And he demanded that I accepted that it was refracted light from bending behind the Earth curve. And I knew that if he pushed that in the hangout, I knew that he'd kick me. And I predicted it beforehand. I did a video on it beforehand and said he's going to kick me out of here. And he did. I got to that point. He demanded I accepted it was looming or refraction, I think he called it at the time. And because I wouldn't, he kicked me out there and then. And I was like, yeah, I knew you were going to do that.
The whole
apparently it wasn't looming, though.
No. It's been used out of context by ballers all over the plane.
So he kicked you out because he expected you to accept looming. Have you still got that hangout?
Yeah, it's on his channel.
Why don't you snip it out?
I think he called it refraction. I don't think he specified it was looming at the time because I think the conversation was quite new. I'll go back and listen to exactly how he worded it.
Fair enough.
What I think they've done is they've taken the fact that light, it seems to within tests within sugar water, let's just say, and the likes, bend due to when it goes into the denser end of the sugar water tank. So if it does the same thing in our atmosphere, where it bends downward due to the density of the air near the surface, what they've basically done, if that actually does happen, what they've basically done is just put a maths equation over it and said, basically, they just decided it does bend, but it bends this much all the time, kind of thing. You know, it's like they're taking something that might be a very real thing. I don't know for definite if it is, but it seems to be very likely. And they're just taking something that's a real thing, and they've decided to bend it at a particular amount that suits them. You know, so they can prove that light bends, but they can never prove it bends to right around this curve of theirs.
No, it just bends exactly the exact right amount and the exact right way that it needs to in order to provide the observation that you see. So it, of course, matches the globe.
Yeah.
That's literally their argument.
Well, it assumes the globe, 7/6R. That's why this whole argument falls apart. If we're taking apart the geometry based on their geometric horizon and its physicality, and they take the rate of refraction based on the radius, which gives them their horizon, well, then you've got a very massive conflict where the geometric values don't work if you haven't got a geometry to base them on. So you can't suddenly start extrapolating out the radius value into refraction. That's just turning what we call optical effects in atmosphere into geometric mathematics. Well, we've debunked the geometry. So this circle jerk ends in another checkmate. Oh, right, so you're just going to assume R then? Well, R in your model gives you the horizon, and the horizon isn't in this position when you show the black swan. Ergo, it's not a geometric horizon. Oh, well, it's optically moved. Well, how do you know it's optically moved? Well, we'll base it on the geometric horizon. 7/6R. Well, no, you won't. You're going round in circles with a failed geometry to try and beg the question. It's pathetic. He's been told, don't use looming, use terrestrial refraction. Just assume the R value. Now, clearly, Andrew Thomas Young doesn't realise in this instance the R value is giving us a geometric horizon we've debunked. So what use is that? Terrestrial refraction's not going to save you, FNDs. You can't trust in R anymore.
Yeah, they've literally been told that they need to use the same R that gets destroyed by the argument. Use that to defend your argument.
Exactly. And with that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who did tune in on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Of course, another massive thank you to all of today's Discord and G Plus panels for making this after show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!